sources to CNN News 18, we are now learning that the Enforcement Directorate is likely to appeal against the order that has been passed by the Rouse Avenue Court, where they have in fact passed this verdict that this entire plea by the ED as far as the FIR against the Gandhis in this particular National Herald case is not maintainable. And there is an appeal that in all likelihood will be filed against this order by the Rouse Avenue Court, by the Enforcement Directorate. And this is what their legal team is also mentioning to CNN News 18. We're also learning that the team is going to be evaluating the detailed judgment that has been passed by the Rouse Avenue Court, and then they will go on to appeal against this verdict. So this is what we are learning. The temporary respite that has been granted to the Gandhis in the National Herald case will be challenged by the Enforcement Directorate, and the ED will be formulating this fresh appeal to challenge the order by the Rouse Avenue Court. So that is the latest that we are picking up. Remember, we told you about the Enforcement Directorate's plea that has been deemed not maintainable in the Rouse Avenue Court, but that will be challenged by the ED is what we are learning at the moment. My colleague Ananya Bhatnagar with all the latest as far as this is concerned. Ananya, this was what the conjecture really was, that ED is eventually going to be challenging this particular verdict by the Rouse Avenue Court. The grounds, however, that you're learning of that the ED is going to do that. Do tell us.
Well, absolutely. In fact, the ED's legal team would actually be considering the particular judgment. They would be going into the facts and circumstance of that particular judgment. They would be reading it fully, and then would be analyzing as to what would be the grounds of, in fact, the challenge to this particular appeal that's been filed by, that is to be filed by the Enforcement Directorate challenging this particular order of the Rouse Avenue Court. Not only that, what is also very, very relevant and important to note is that the investigators and the legal team actually believes that one of the major points that could have actually possibly been ignored by, in fact, the trial judge, though it would be clear only after the reading of that particular judgment, is that there is a specific paragraph as far as just Vijay Mandanlal Chaudhary judgment, which is said to be the touchstone of the Enforcement Directorate is concerned. The paragraph 382.8 completely goes on to suggest that the Enforcement Directorate can actually initiate an investigation based on a private complaint, and it can actually happen. And this is a judgment that has been rendered by the topmost court of the country, though under challenge, but is not stayed, and that is something why it acts as a precedent at this particular point of time, and that is something that could possibly been ignored by, in fact, the trial judge, though it would only be clear after, in fact, a detailed reading of this particular order actually is done by the legal team of the Enforcement Directorate. So all of that would be considered. The ED's team would actually be seeing and would be taking into account all of these conjectures. They would be going into the kind of reasoning that the judge has given out, and then would be filing an appeal as far as this order passed by the Rouse Avenue Court is concerned. So how soon would that happen is something that we are not sure of, but definitely it will be happening, and the Enforcement Directorate would be challenging this particular order before a higher court itself.
Madanlal Chaudhary judgment that you've just mentioned, and that was also something that the ED is looking at to further go ahead and challenge this particular verdict by the Rouse Avenue Court. The broad powers under prevention of money laundering that the ED has per that judgment, if you could just lay down that for our viewers.
Well, absolutely. I can actually read out that particular portion of, in fact, the Vijay Madanlal Chaudhary judgment, and it is, in fact, para 382.8, which goes on to say that offence under Section 3 of the 2002 Act is dependent on an illegal gain of property as a result of criminal activity relating to a scheduled offence. It is concerning the process or activity connected with so and so. The authorities under the 2002 Act cannot prosecute any person on notional basis or on the assumption that a scheduled offence has been committed unless it is so registered with the jurisdictional police and or pending inquiry, trial, including by way of a criminal complaint before a competent forum. If the person is finally discharged or acquitted of the scheduled offence, or the criminal case against him is quashed by the court of the competent jurisdiction, there can be no offence of money laundering against him. Also, basically, a private complaint can actually be a basis, is what, in fact, this particular paragraph of the Vijay Mandla Chaudhary judgment goes on to say, though very categorically, this is in fact the investigators also say, and the sources that have revealed to us that an appeal would be filed very clearly say that, you know, this is in fact a complaint. This is not an ordinary complaint. It's a private complaint upon whom a cognizance was already taken by a court, and that is something that makes this complaint much higher in value, and that is why this ground could be one of the major grounds as far as the challenge to this particular order is concerned. Griya.
Right. Do stay on with us, Ananya. We also have Anshul now joining us on the broadcast. Anshul, very many reactions have begun pouring in after this verdict from the Rouse Avenue Court, particularly from the Congress party. They have gone on to call this case politically motivated prosecution by the Modi government. And I'm just reading out the tweet that Supriya Srinath has put out after this verdict from the Rouse Avenue Court. The responses so far that you see coming in as far as the political spectrum is concerned.
Well, yes, the Congress party is definitely taking this entire issue as a shot in their arm at this point in time. And they are saying that, yes, this is a victory that they have been able to get. But top sources in the Enforcement Directorate has told CNN News 18 that this is just a technical issue at this point in time. And the Enforcement Directorate is willing to now wait for the initial charge sheet to be filed by the Economic Offences Wing of the Delhi Police, and then eventually going ahead and filing their prosecution complaint in this entire matter. This is just a small breather to the Gandhi family, is what the Enforcement Directorate believes at this point in time, because the evidences that the ED has and the money trail that has already been established are actually very substantive in nature, and this is in no way going to hamper the investigation. This is just going to delay the proceedings of the case at this point in time. So within a month's time, we can yet again expect the Economic Offences Wing of the Delhi Police to file a charge sheet into this entire matter, and it's at that point that the Enforcement Directorate will yet again file a prosecution complaint. But as Ananya is bringing through to us through the legal sources, that this order will also be challenged, and it remains to be seen what kind of verdict will come out. Will the court be able to accept this argument that this